This is Spyderco Mule Team in Maxamet. I've heard a lot of talk lately about Maxamet being a real difficult thing to sharpen and difficult thing to deal with and problems with it and everything else. People talking about the steel like it's glass. I haven't had any problems with it. And I've got people asking me questions about it, and I did a video on it. I guess I didn't put enough time in on it. I was kind of waiting for Spyderco to release some models that I wanted to pick up. I decided to pass on the Manix and the Native, just a decision that I made. I've done more testing with Maxamet outside of what I've posted on videos, a lot more use with it. In this case tonight, I picked this up and it was still sharp. It was still sharp enough to cut a free hanging hair from the last time. I guess I had put it away sharp last time I used it. So I wanted to sharpen it and put some simplicity to it and just look for problems, one more time. See if I could find anything that I hear people talking about. And so I wanted to put it through use first, something harder than cardboard. So I decided to go on wood, and I was working with pine, and I had no issues at all. I mean, I don't know. It's not a tough steel. It's not, and it's not going to be real friendly to lateral stress. But it is still a steel. I mean, it's not something we should be afraid of. Moving forward with things, as far as in the industry and technology, that's what we should be looking towards. And it's not to say accept everything, but we should keep an open mind to everything and move forward. So I'm not afraid to use and to test and to try and to explore. And you may get some bumps along the way, but that's fine. That's not a reason to walk away from something. So in working with the wood tonight with Maxamet, I mean, I was being very deliberate in my cuts. I was exercising a lot of knife control and avoiding lateral pressure and that kind of thing, but I'm dealing with a high carbide steel, an extremely high carbide steel at an extremely high hardness. So of course you wouldn't want lateral pressure. Of course you would want to control the way you were doing things. That's the only logical way to approach it, given the tool that you're using. I cut a little bit of cardboard when that was done, just to keep it going. It's fine, Maxamet, just ignored everything, didn't mind the wood. So after that, I wanted to resharpen, and like I said, I wanted to keep it simple. So 3 stones, 3 strops, hair whittling sharp. That was the plan. Started with a DMT coarse diamond stone, diamond plate. I worked with that. That was fine. It was like I don't know, a minute on each side. When that was done, I moved on to the extra fine DMT diamond plate. Worked with that. That was a couple minutes on each side. Not a big deal. And when I got done with that, I moved on to the Spyderco ultrafine stone. I worked with that, and that really wasn't all that long either. A couple minutes, not hours, not a lot of work. When I had done both sides with the Spyderco ultrafine, I did a little bit of movement for burr minimization, just to put it, into check, kind of get it ready. After that stone, I moved on the strops, starting with a 4 micron diamond strop from Gendy Industries. Let me look at what I'm dealing with here. Polydiamond emulsion. So from Gendy Industries, worked with that strop, 4 micron, completely removed the burr fast. It was no problem. Then moved on to a 1 micron. Make sure this isn't CBN. Now, polydiamond emulsion, 1 micron from Gendy Industries. Sorry, it's the first time I've used the products. So I worked with that. The 4 micron was good. Completely removed the burr. It was actually impressive the way it completely removed the burr. No issues, no fight from it. And I moved on to the 1 micron, went through that, and then moved on to a 1/4 micron from Hand American. Worked with the 1/4 micron. At the end of all that, the knife was, it was exactly how I expected it to be. It was hair whittling sharp. Maxamet takes a hell of an edge, and it takes it easily. I don't know. I don't know why people are having so much trouble. I would think, if I had to guess, just off the top, and I haven't sat down with anybody who has trouble with Maxamet, who has had trouble with Maxamet. And there's some experienced people, some experienced guys who do a lot of work sharpening who have complained about Maxamet having issues with it. If I had to guess, I would think it's either one of several things or a mix. The stones that people are using aren't the right stones for it. If you notice, well, I mean, you know what? I used an aluminum stone on it, but it was a finishing stone. It was a Spyderco Ultrafine. It was a finishing stone. It wasn't like I was trying to cut into it with a king stone. So it's a lot of diamond. That ultrafine stone was more refinement than anything else. But the other thing that I'm thinking is maybe in people's general technique there's too much lateral pressure. Now, that being said, I use a lot of lateral pressure. I mean, I'm pretty rough going stone in hand, so I don't quite get that. The other thing that has crossed my mind, people aren't going to like hearing this, but as some people sharpen, if you ever notice, if you watch, I make movements to set my scratch pattern edge to spine or spine to edge, but it's those kind of movements. My scratch pattern goes from edge to spine. I don't deviate. I don't make movements with the knife cocked and moved all around. I don't make swirling movements or sweeping movements. I don't do any of that. When you do that, you reduce bite. You compromise the edge. There's a time and place for it with certain cutting instruments, but generally with a knife, I do not subscribe to the idea of doing that. I think it's a bad idea, and I think that you lose bite in the edge, and that's something that I look for. So I don't do it. I mean, I avoid it at all costs with a knife, with a pocket knife or a small fixed blade. Like I said, other cutting instruments, that's a different thing. That's another discussion. But if you're doing that with diamond, I've thought to myself, in hearing some of the people that talk about this, I've thought, I wonder if you're putting cuts in the bevel at angles, and you're catching on clusters of carbide, and I wonder if that's what's doing it, if that's what's tearing it out. I mean, if you're making, like I said, strange sweeping movements in your sharpening, I don't know what that could do to scratch pattern. It's a strange thing. And I mean, I keep it really simple for the effect of it, not to avoid, challenging the hurting the bevel on the stone. I keep it simple because I find it to be a better result. And I don't know, maybe that made me miss some of the headache. Those are my thoughts on it, but I don't have any trouble with Maxamet. Now, that being said, I've only got this Maxamet mule. I don't have one of the production folders from Spyderco yet. I'm looking forward to it when they come out, and it would be really interesting if this is no problem. I get one of the production folders, and all of a sudden I've got a problem. If the heat treat was different, if they were doing something different with the heat treat for the mule team knife, as opposed to what they were putting out on the regular production market. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But I did want to touch on Maxamet just because, and I don't know if I'm going to leave this video up or just put it up temporarily, take it down in 24 hours. But I thought it was an interesting thing, something I wanted to comment on just because I hear it coming up so much these days in discussion on steels and on sharpening.